Well, hello and how are you? Welcome to the Shen Show. I am your host, Shenandoah Briscoe, coming to you from right here in St. Charles, Missouri. Hey, you know what? Today is Monday, January 6th, 2020. That's right, it's my anniversary, and we'll get to that here in a short. Actually, I got a happy birthday shout out going out to Chris Chris Fasnacht, Heather Elizabeth Lynn Adams-Farrar, Sherry Denise Lucas-Morse, Matt Krich. And these are all friend happy birthdays. Shout outs going out to the four of you. And so, without further ado, I'm going to sing a birthday song for the four of you. I said, hey, I heard it's your birthday today, so happy birthday, I must say. Oh, hey, Chris and Heather and Lynn and Sherry and Matt. Oh, happy birthday to you today. I said, hey, I heard it's your birthday today, so happy birthday, I must say. You know, you turn one more year older today, so happy birthday to you today. And many more. Cha-cha-cha-cha. Cha-cha-cha. All right. Now, I got some friend anniversary shout-outs going out to Facebook friend anniversaries. That is one to David M. Dannegger, which I believe David Dannegger is Lisa Dannegger's little brother. I used to have such a crush on her, boy, I tell you. But I don't know how to get in touch with her, so, well, David, if you can hook me up with your sister at some point in time, give her my information, tell her that I talk about her, or tell her that I still think about her from years gone back. She was a dancer. Yes, she was. Dancer slash uh, um, gymnastics. Yeah. And so, anyway, Lisa Dannegger. And then Kimberly Krough. That's right. My roommate's daughter, Kimberly Krough. Roommate slash caregiver, that is. So anyway, Kimberly Krough and David Dannegger, happy friend anniversary to the two of you. And speaking of anniversaries, I've got an anniversary today. That's right. 25 years ago today, I ended up in this wheelchair sitting right here. That's right. I ended up plopped down in a wheelchair. Spinal cord injury. Had myself an automobile accident. Now, I was going to tell you the whole story about the whole thing, and I was going to show you pictures and all that stuff. Have somebody here to hold them up for me and whatnot, but I didn't get nobody arranged for that to do it today. And so, therefore, I'm just going to have to tell you the story today. And maybe I'll tell you show you some pictures on it tomorrow. If Facebook will allow, I will include those pictures on my Facebook page down below in my comments. I do not know if YouTube has comment photos. If they do, I will place them there if they will allow that. Generally speaking, they're a little graphic for my automobile collision pictures. My car was torn into three pieces. You see, I was separated from my wife at the time, and I worked all the way out there on Highway 79. Yep, actually it wasn't 79, it was 47 to be exact. And I worked over there down in Warrenton off of Main Street at a little rickety old shack place called the started with B is what it did, and they changed to Hollister Corp, but Holland Corp. Anyway, they are a trailer bed manufacturing company, and when I worked there, I used to manufacture trailer bed parts, and we used to make flatbed trailers. And well, I was a machine operator, and well, I'd been working there for 92 days. I was very lucky on that account, and I'll explain that a little later on in the story here. So anyway, on my work, I worked the night shift, that is, and I was living out that way off of Highway 47 out there by Snow Hill Lumber off in W, because a friend of mine lived out that way. And, well, I worked my way down 47 to W, and then I'd work up W over to Snow Hill Lumber, and then across the street from that was trailer park. And, well, I lived in one of his trailers. He had two at the time. So anyway, I was living in a trailer with his wife and dog and kids and whatnot. And dog used to pee on my head all the time. Didn't like that dog. Dog was tall enough. I'm 6'2". Dog was tall enough to meet me eye to eye level, putting his paws on my shoulders and say, "You don't belong in my house." And I was like, "Oh, Ace, cut it out. Get down from me." And he was fine with that, except for the fact he still wanted to dominate me and tell me I didn't belong. And so he would pee on my head, and he would pee on my clothes. So I got to a point where I took all my clothes and I stuffed them in the trunk of my car. So my car was fully loaded, which I would have figured would have gave me a little bit more weight in the back end of it. Less slidage. Now, December 25th, 1994. That was Christmas. You see, and the first picture that I'll be showing you will be Christmas Day, and there's no snow on the grounds. You'll be looking at my car, which is a 1980 Ford Mustang II. It would be the Pinto version. Binkley. That's where I used to work, Binkley. Anyway, it was a 1982 Ford Pinto. That's what it was. Anyway, and it was Pinto. It wasn't a Pinto. It was 1982 Ford Mustang, the Pinto version of the car. There we go. So anyway, also in that picture, you'll see my now 26-year-old son, who standing there alongside of me. Just call me Stretch if you want. Anyway, that's pretty much the same outfit I was wearing the day I had my accident. So I didn't get no road rash. I did get a little bit of road rash on my forehead, right above my right eye. And I clipped the pavement pretty good and hard. Anyway, the second picture that you will see will be January 6th of 95. Now, that would be the first snow of the season. Now, I got off of work at about 6 o'clock in the morning, I do believe, pretty close to 6 o'clock in the morning. And I went over to a friend's house and spent about an hour there with them checking out some safety glasses, which I was supposed to buy a pair of safety glasses, but the models of safety glasses that he had on hand were not the type that I was expecting to look at. And so I didn't buy me a pair of safety glasses, but I did have chocolate Yoo-hoo. They always ask me, "Was you drinking?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I sure was. Chocolate Yoo-hoo, worst drink in the world, never have another one in my life." Because, well, I imagine that's what caused my accident, a chocolate Yoo-hoo. Maybe not. But either how, I ain't drinking them. It tastes like watered milk down to me, watered chocolate milk to me, so. Any hoot nanny, the guy's friend, Sonny, well, not Sonny per se. It was, because Sonny was there, but it wasn't Sonny. Anyway, either way, his friend, Sonny and me, and can't think of the other feller's name. Well, you got to realize it's been 25 years. Can't think of his name, but anyway, we were in his apartment. His dad worked at Vest Soda Pop. And, well, Vest Soda Pop was the ones who put out Yahoo drinkies. Yoo-hoo drinks. Yahoo. Yoo-hoo. Yoo-hoo chocolate milk. Water. Whatever. And so I had to have that. And then, well, there was 12 steps going down into the basement. I remember coming up 2 of those 12 steps. Now, from what I was told, not that I know, but from what I was told later on, fulfilled inside the story, that my car wouldn't start immediately. And I can believe it because it was cold and it was the first snow of the season. Car didn't have reverse in it, so if I was to park on the side of a road with a hill, I always had to back it to where it'd be facing uphill so that I could get away from the curb. You know, I couldn't back uphill, so I would have to get away from the curb, so I was pulled back in there. Parked, and the car may not have started. I was having a little choke trouble those days. So I might have had to get out and flip the choke and get her to start, and then got her rolling. And then about 2 hours from that point in time from leaving, they were going snowboarding, and they didn't want me going with. So anyhow, about 2 hours later, I ended up on the side of the road on Highway 47 Highway 47 between Warrenton and Hawk Point. Now, I'm going to swear because this is just the way I was back then. When I was a driver, this is just the way I am and or was. If I was driving today, I'd be doing the same thing. I do drive this chair, and I do a little bit of floating and sloping and trying to do power slides and stuff like that in the snow so that I know how my chair is going to operate and function and whether it's going to slide or drift whenever I'm going on the side of the hill or something like that. I don't want to slide down a hill sideways. Too scary. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so I would go out into a big empty parking lot. Well, there was a Walmart parking lot out there in Warrenton. And I imagine I went over to the parking lot and played around in that parking lot for probably 30 to 40 minutes because I knew that the tires on that car were not in the best shape in the world. And so I decided I better do that and figure out how my car was going to react on the pavement out there when I got out there on the snow. So after that, 2 hours later, they find me in the ditch on the side of the road. Car is torn into 3 pieces. There's 2 pieces in the middle of the road and 1 piece out in the field somewhere. And of the 2 pieces, there's a little closer shot of the 1 piece there. And if you notice the door standing open on that picture there, you will see that there is a window frame sticking up above the roof of the car. Well, if you close that door up against that car right there, that would be the driver's seat of that car. And had I been wearing a seatbelt like the law says, I would have been dead because that roof is on top of them seats and that window frame is all the way up above that roof, standing directly straight up. I flew out of the car approximately 32 feet, landed on my right forehead, and crunched my head down like that right there, and bruised my spinal cord. I broke my spinal cord. My spine, I broke my C3 vertebrae into 8 pieces. It crushed it flat like a quarter, broke it into 8 pieces, and 3 of those pieces slid down my spinal canal and bruised my spinal cord. And so, therefore, I had me a bruised spinal cord. And, well, I've been waiting on it to heal. Now, I went from there, I went to Winsville Hospital. And from Winsville Hospital, they were going to helicopter me on out to St. John's Mercy Medical. But they didn't helicopter me out there because it was too bad a weather to do that. So anyway, you know what? I forgot part of the story. I slid around the corner. I come in around the corner, and what had happened to the vehicle in the car accident in the first place was that there was a collision. I come around the corner. I slid into their lane and back out of their lane and into their lane again. And before I could get back out of their lane, I broadsided the front end of a Quiver River Electric Company bucket truck. One of their big boom trucks. And that's why the hood of my car was flat. Squished. So, anyway, that's what happened to my car, and that's why it was torn all over the place. They said I slid into them, that they had pulled over to the side of the road, and I slid into them anyway. Looking at the road and the situation and me driving down the road, I don't believe it, but I can't conceive it, can't tell you anything else. At the time, nobody would listen to me. I was over in the ditch. They thought I was dead at the time. And so I waited over there. First off, they couldn't figure out which ambulance district it was under, whether it was Warrenton or whether it was Lincoln County. Warren County or Lincoln County. So I just laid there until they figured it out. That was almost 2 hours figuring out which ambulance district to send. Once they figured that out, they sent the ambulance, and the ambulance came and got me, and they took me to Wentzville Hospital. Now, in the meantime, they did not give me the shot. They were supposed to be giving me a shot in my spinal cord, or spine, to keep my swelling down. Never got the shot. Swelling was puffy. Boy, I tell you. I've got another picture around the house here somewhere that's got my neck and chin and chest all the same size, pretty much. But anyway, I went ahead and ended up out there at St. John's Mercy Medical Hospital, where the doctor out there, he decided that he didn't want to do any kind of a surgery on my neck because, well, he was afeared. And if your doctor is afeared to do a surgery, don't let him touch you. You know what I'm saying? Just don't let him touch you. He said my chances of coming out worse was 75%. My chances of getting any better was maybe 10%, and the other 15% was, or 30%. The other 30% of the deal was, that I'd end up dead. So I was like, no, thank you. I don't think that I want to go under the knife under those circumstances. So I waited, and at that hospital, I wore me a cervical collar. I wore me a cervical collar for the first couple of days. Then I wore me a halo. They put me in a halo. No, I guess that was the first day. They put me in traction. And well, that didn't work out too very well because all the time I was in traction, because I'm 6'2", I was too tall for my bed, so I was up against the head of the bed half the time with my neck cocked sideways. And with my neck cocked sideways, like so, or whatever, whichever direction it was cocked, one way or the other, I wasn't getting any traction on my neck, so it wasn't holding my spine very straight. So after the first few days of that, then they put me in a halo, which is a contraption that they screws in your forehead and in the back of your head, and they got this bracket thing that goes on your shoulders. And they got these bars that go up to that. And you look kind of like Jesus and everything. And because you got this halo on your head, and you got these, you can't shave, so you get this growth of beard, and you kind of resemble Jesus. And I know this because I used to lay in my, during my therapy, I laid next to this one older lady, and she used to talk to me, and I would condole her. She used to talk to me and ask me questions like why her husband was taken and her not, and stuff like that, and why she wasn't ready to go yet. And I told her she still had more work to do here on earth and stuff of that, of that nature. And well, after I had that halo removed and my shave, they shaved me and they took my halo off. She didn't recognize me at all. She was like, "Who? Whatever happened to that nice young gentleman that used to lay beside me, the other one that used to lay here during my therapy sessions?" And I said, "It's still me." And she says, "No, it was a different man. And he would help me with my troubles." And so I must have resembled Jesus to her, and she was pretty much happier with him laying there than me. But that's okay. I don't blame her. I wouldn't mind laying next to Jesus and talking to him daily also. Either. Shall I say either? Not also, but either. So anyway, after they took that halo off, I was supposed to be wearing a cervical collar, neck collar, for about, 6 weeks to a month or something like that? And no. That thing itched, and it itched like crazy, I'm telling you. And so I learned with my neck, all the time I was in my halo, I was doing isometric exercises. Well, isometric exercises, if you don't know what they are using your muscles against your own muscles to keep tone in your muscle. And so I would push forward on my head and backwards on my head at the same time, strengthening my neck, trying to keep my neck as strong as I could. So at the point in time when they removed that halo, my head didn't just flop over. My neck was really strong, and they put my cervical collar on there. And it was the plastic kind with the two Velcros on one side that would cross over the neck, and the two Velcros on the other side that would cross over the neck the opposite direction. And every time the doctors would, or the nurses would come in, they'd find the front half of the thing on the floor in front of me and me still wearing the back half. And they would tell me that I was going to have to stop having people take my cervical collar off. And I told them that, I said, there ain't nobody taking my collar off. And they just never would believe it. And so they sent my doctor in one day. And when my doctor come in, he said, the nurses say you're having people take your collar off and you're going to have to stop doing that. And well, I was like, I'm not having anybody take that off. I'm taking that off myself. And knowing that I'm a quadriplegic and could not grab a hold of that Velcro strip, he said, now, how are you doing it if you're taking it off yourself? And I said, well, I do it kind of like this here. And I took my chin back, way back, like that, and I tucked it inside that there collar. And I pushed forward with my chin until that Velcro loosened up. And then I pushed my chin down in there again a little deeper, and I pushed forward a little more on that collar until that Velcro loosened up some more. And I just kept working it loose until it was so loose that I could grab it with my teeth and shake it loose from the rest of the Velcro and fling it off in the bed onto the floor, and that was off. And he said, and I said, is there any way I can get out of this thing? It itches. He said, if you're strong enough to do that with your neck, then it's strong enough to hold your head up, you're good. So I didn't have to wear my collar, cervical collar, any longer. I was out. And I done that. I come out of that within 3 weeks instead of the 6 to 8 weeks that I was supposed to be wearing it. So anyway, that was my cervical collar story, yes. Then after the cervical collar and after my 6 months of rehab, speaking of the 6 months of rehab, like I said, you had to work for the company for 90 days to get your insurance. And like I said earlier, I worked for the company for 92 days, and I became a union member, and this is the only thing I've ever liked about union was that insurance. Because I was not really a big union type guy, but hey, what the heck. I was a union member, and so I had the medical insurance and the dental insurance, and I got my front tooth, that chipped tooth fixed, and I got my 100% of the emergency room in the first 6 weeks was covered, 100%. And then 80% of all my rehab at that particular rehab, and then I went to a nursing home from there. And that's a whole nother story. I was in that nursing home for 5 weeks. Don't ever go to a nursing home if you can avoid it. 5 weeks of my life I will never get back. 29 years old and in a nursing home is not the place to be. The people are nice enough and everything, but it's just you feel like you're getting old in a hurry. So don't go and don't stay if you can avoid it. If you can get family members to keep you up and out of one, try to figure out a way to get to stay out. That being said, after that 5 weeks, I got me an interview with a Dr. Spock. No, not Dr. Spock. Dr. Levy. And he was going to be going on a conference. And he was over at Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis, downtown. So I got this interview with him, so I loaded up in the truck and I went on downtown, and I got there and I had a fella right outside there. He prayed for me immediately, said that he had a great message from God that I was going to be healed. And well, that was very refreshing, because I was on my way in to talk to a doctor who was getting ready to do a surgery on me. So I went on in and I talked to the doctor, and the doctor, he said, well, I tell you what, I've got these x-rays here and I've got the whole thing, and I've been looking at everything, and well, I'm getting ready to go to a conference in Germany. Now, if you don't mind, I'll take this here paperwork, all of your medical paperwork, and I will bring it with me to that conference in Germany, and I will discuss it with doctors from all around the world, spinal doctors and cervical doctors and all of that, doctors all around the world, and we will see what would be your best benefit, whether I could do that surgery for you or not. And I said, well, if you must get opinions from all around the world, go for it. And so he did go, and he did come back 6 weeks later. And we decided that we were going to go ahead and do that there surgery because, well, he was 63, 33. 33 and the third was the percentage rates. 33 and a third. That's 1/3% chance that I was going to get better. 1/3% chance that I was going to get worse, and 1/3% chance that I was going to die on the table. Well, I like those odds a lot better than the odds that I had in the first place. You know, the one with 75% chance I was going to die on the table, and then the 10% chance I'd get better, and the 30% chance I'd stay the same. Didn't like those odds at all. So anyway, well, it's a good thing I had that cervical collar thing a long time ago because, well, I ain't got no teeth now. And I wouldn't have been able to pull that cervical collar thing off. I got to get to a dentist, but that's beside the point. Anyway, speaking of the fact I ain't got no teeth, who cares? Now, I went and got my surgery, and now my rehab at that point in time was only going to be for about, three? It was only a week, I think, a week or maybe 3 weeks of rehab because, well, hey, I didn't do nothing but gain my thumb back. See that thumb moving there? Well, here, let me hold it up a little higher. There you go. You see that thumb moving there? Well, I started moving that thumb, and I started moving my shoulders a bit better, and I started getting the tricep muscle, which I've still got. So I started getting these symptoms, these things that I didn't have before. And so my rehab, my angel at my insurance company, Mary Ann, she used to call me the $1 million baby. And well, because I was only 21 at the time, and so I was the $1 million kid, and my insurance policy was big, and it was bulky, and it had lots of funding in it. Well, she looked it up on Consumer Report, and she said, you know what? There are 3 of the best rehab facilities. There's one in Florida. Well, what had happened just recently in Florida was they had taken the wrong leg off of one of the people that they was operating on. One of his legs had to be removed because he had ulcers or something in it, and they was going to have to remove a leg. And well, they removed the wrong leg, so they had to go back and remove the correct corresponding leg also. So instead of being lefty, they called him Stumpy because he had stumps instead of legs. So my idea of going to Florida was canceled right then and there. I was like, I don't think I'll be going to Florida. In hindsight, I wish I did. Wish I would have went to Florida instead, but I ended up in Chicago at the RIC, Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago. And when I went there and I had that thumb movement, and I went to work on that thumb movement, and I went to work on my arms, and I went to work on some other things, issues. I wanted my toes and my feet and my legs and my arms, and my doctor was more than happy to send me because he knew that I was going to come out of it a walking miracle. And that's what I was hoping for, too. Well, I went in on a Friday, you see, and when I got in there on that Friday, it was the girl that done the intake. She took my intake information and she put it on a file desk. Well, she didn't come back for a week. So Tuesday comes up, and Monday comes up, and they start working with me. Well, they have taken me off of all my medication because, well, I'm taking too much baclofen to suit them. Everybody in their rehab unit has their highest amount of baclofen that they take is 60 milligrams. Well, this here old boy is on 120 milligrams of baclofen, and I think I'm still on 100 and let's see, 20, 40, 60, 80. I'm on 100 or 90. I'm on 90 milligrams of baclofen now, but I used to take 40 milligrams every 4 hours, 6 hours every 4 hours throughout the whole night and everything. So that's what I was on before, and so I was way up there on the baclofen, and they stopped me on it cold turkey. Well, you're not supposed to do that, and I come to find out later that that's why I was having all those weird anxiety attacks and stuff like that, because I thought these people were trying to kill me. They had my blood pressure down to next to nothing because they did put me on a baclofen patch later. After that, they put me on a baclofen patch, and then they had me off of all my other meds. I was Clumb Up myself had been wadded up in a knot like a little fetus because of they'd taken me off of everything, and then my blood pressure was low, and the only person in there that I was there's only one girl that was in there that I felt was taking care of me, and I was calling on her all the time, and I felt like, if nothing else, that she was my light and savior, and I loved her, but that's beside the point. I can't even remember her name no more. It's been a long time, but she was there for me, and she was my nurse, and she was in there, and anytime I called, she'd be there. But she was the only one that I was afraid. I was scared that I was going to die right there in that hospital. And I done some stupid things. After they got my meds straightened back out a little bit, I used to wear a hand splint all the time on my hand. Now, of course, the hand splints they were making for me stabilized my thumb because they had lost my paperwork that said I was wanting to work on moving my thumb. They had lost that paperwork. It was gone. They didn't have my evaluation from the day Friday when I went in. And so they stabilized my thumb. They wasn't working on the things that I wanted to work on, and they wouldn't listen to me because that first week I was talking out of my head because I was off my meds that I was supposed to be on. And so they thought I was a goofed up nut. So anyway, when I did start telling them what I was supposed to be working on, they weren't listening to me at all. And it was really a bad situation. I was there for about 6 weeks of rehab in Chicago. And my thing with rehab in Chicago was I did get some good things out of it. I got to go to the Fog Hat Theater, which is owned by Lieutenant Dan and a few other fellas, a couple of other fellas. Lieutenant Dan, that would be, what is his name? Shoot. He played Lieutenant Dan. Who? Oh, no, I can't think of his name. That's going to drive me nuts. Shoot. Who played Lieutenant Dan? Yeah, there you go, Gary Sinise. Jeez whiz. Can't believe I forgot that. Anyway, I did go to the Fog Hat Theater, and I did get to meet Lieutenant Dan, Gary Sinise. He just so happened to be producing a play or directing it, and he was up in the balcony with us when we came in, and he was like, oh, here, he was the neatest guy in the whole world, Let me help you move these chairs out of your way, and let me get you in here and set and all comfortable and everything. He was the coolest guy, and we tormented the heck out of our events coordinator because she had a crush on him. And at first I had no idea who he was. I didn't recognize him from Beans, but I did say, hey, Gary. And he was like, yeah. I said, she would surely like to come down there and sit with you if you wouldn't mind, 'cause, well, she's got a crush on you. And boy, I tell you what, she turned all kinds of red, and all of a sudden she decided she had to go to the bathroom. And I don't think we saw her throughout the rest of the play. I don't know why. She was embarrassed. Anyway, that was all right with me and the rest of the folks. We had fun. Anyway, they had all kinds of neat stuff going on in the play, and it was pretty nifty, but that's beside the point. I did get to do that. Um, I ran into a bus 3 times. I'll tell that story on another day. But anyway, that was this is my anniversary of being in the chair for 25 years, so that's part of it. And so anyway, that's my day for the day. I think I'm going to do our portion of the program called Our Daily Bread. And the reason I'm going to do that is because, well, it's running kind of late. And I'll go ahead and do that today. And today's devotion is called Mysterious Helpers. And, well, the Mysterious Helpers, I'd like for you all to go ahead and go to odb.org or pick up an Our Daily Bread magazine at your booklet at your church, or wherever you might find one. Sometimes they're at the doctor's office or whatever. I suggest you get one somehow or another, or go online and join odb.org on the computer, because you can read it there and you get to read the daily devotion. And then it's also got a Bible verse that goes with the daily devotion, so that you kind of get to read a story about somebody's life, and then a scripture out of the Bible that pertains to that story. And it's pretty interesting. I always find it interesting. Also, it gives you the Bible in a year, which I'll be reading later on in the Bible with Briscoe, and that will be today's Bible with Briscoe. We'll be doing Genesis 16 through 17 and Matthew 5:27 through 48. That's what we'll be doing later. But right now, we're going to do Hebrews 13:1 through 3. Yes, sir, that's Hebrews 13:1 through 3. And we're going to go ahead and read that. And I'm using the NIV Bible, which is the New International Version. It's just standard English, basically. Instead of begat and all that stuff, it's just straight up English, Americanized English. And so hopefully it doesn't translate anything and lose proper translation in it, because, well, that wouldn't be cool, because you don't want to cross up the translations. You know what I'm saying? But it does it's pretty much right along the lines, because, well, they use it at my church, and my pastor wouldn't do that. He would not do something like that. So anyway, concluding exhortation. Concluding exhortation. Hebrews 13:1 through 3. Keep on loving one another as brothers and sisters. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers. For by doing so, people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. Continue to remember those in prison as if they were together with them, if you were together with them in prison, and those who are mistreated as if you yourself were suffering. And there you have it. That was Hebrews 13:1 through 3. All right. Hey, that's it for me. I'm going to have to sing a song for you, though. And that song would be, well, goodbye, my friends. It's time to go. Whoa, whoa. Goodbye, my friends. It's the time to go. Whoa, whoa. I hate to leave you, but I really must go. So goodbye, my friends. Goodbye. This here's been Shen Briscoe saying hello and how are you? And thanks for tuning in to the Shen Show. And, um, God loves you, and so do I. So be blessed in Jesus' mighty name. And come back and see me tomorrow because, well, I'll be here, and I hope that you are too.